Hello my beautiful and lovely students out there. How are you all? I hope you're preparing very good and fighting very hard for your examinations, okay? So today's video is very special. I'm going to give you some tips, very important tips for writing, that is your presentation tips for your paper. So let us quickly begin with that tips. Now, first of all, why the tips and for who? So these tips first of all are for how to write your examination paper, especially professional examinations. So this video is relevant for CA, CS as well as CMA students. Now again, which kind of paper? I'm talking of theory paper. And theory paper, you always know it is a kind of trouble or pain for some students how to present the answers. They know the concepts, but how to present the answer. So for that, especially I'm talking of law paper or those theory papers where law is relevant. Okay. So these are the tips, some couple of tips for you to how to write your law or theory papers. So tip number one, the most important tip, how to present your answer. So tip number one is present your answer in 3 parts. So your every answer should show 3 parts. Part number 1, part number 2 and part number 3. So tip number 1 is show your answer in 3 parts. So what are those parts? Let us discuss them. Okay. So part 1. Part 1 talks about the actual provisions of the law, the main part, the main content for what the question is asked. It might be a direct question or it might be a case study question. So this tip I am giving to you for case study types of question. So part 1 of your answer should be the actual provisions, that means the sections relevant of law. Okay. That means whatever the question is asked about, you should first of all understand what is the question about, which sections are applicable. So your first part of the answer, the first paragraph should talk about all the provisions and sections applicable in your answer. Okay. So obviously this is the main part. So some tips in part 1 is, this is your actual law, okay, or actual law, that means actual section. So this will be a little bit lengthy. Okay. This is your main part as such of the answer. This will be a little bit lengthy. It can be in couple of lines. As far as possible, always present your answer in point wise. What do you mean by point wise? That means don't present the answer as such in an entire paragraph. As far as possible, after every 1 sentence or maximum after every 2 sentences, try to show it in the next point. For example, something like this. Okay. So you can say part 1, introduction of provisions or introduction of law or whatever is the act about. Now, for example, you can say, some example I'll give you. The wordings can be as per section so and so of so and so act, comma, year 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever year or whatever the act is or law is asked about. So as per section so and so. Now pay attention. If at all you have doubt over here, you don't remember that which law it is talking about or which section it is talking about, at least you know the question is about which act. Right? So you can write that way. So under or as per the provisions of that particular act and its year. At least this much is fine, so that you know your answer looks a little bit professional. So it doesn't say that you don't remember the section, but still at least it gives you a good professional way to start your answer. So your first line will always be this, that as per section so and so or under the provisions of so and so act, and then write down point wise 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever sections or whatever provisions are applicable. So part 1 of your answer is introduction. Okay. So let me call it as introduction. It is okay to make this part little bit lengthy because here lies your main answer. Alright. Then I move to part 2. Part 2 is case study. So you can give heading also as such, case study. Now case study is nothing but whatever data is given to you in the question. Pay attention, it is very important. Write the names or whatever details are given in that question, that case study, write those everything as it is. So it is nothing but your factual data of the question. Your factual data of the question. So it is nothing but as good as copy paste of whatever is given in the question, but try to write it in a very concise manner, in a short manner. So this is not going to be much lengthy, not lengthy. Why? Because whatever is given in the question, you will write down again that only in this part, case study. Again, like I said, again you can write it in point wise, whatever data is given to you. So as such, part number 2 is nothing but whatever is given in the question, that again in your answer, in very short. And important now, what is part number 3? Part 3 again is nothing but very important. It is the conclusion. It is what? Conclusion as well as comparison. What conclusion and what comparison? Now conclusion means what is your answer as per or why or because of comparing. You compare part 1 and part 2. Okay? Part 1 and part 2 you compare that. So that will be your point number 1 as such, and point number 2 will be your actual final conclusion, whether it is allowed, not allowed, or partly allowed, partly not allowed, whatever might be your conclusion. Okay? So always, now let us say if this is my answer sheet as such. Okay, if I can zoom in, yes, this is my answer sheet. So here I am writing answer number. Okay, answer number 1 to your question number 1. Okay, your answer should look something like this. Introduction. Okay, like I said, you can give again, it's a heading or a underline, then write down point number 1, 2, 3, whatever it is applicable. Okay, leave a line. Then part 2, case study. Then what wordings you can use for case study? Under the given case study or under the given question, and then write down the details, whatever is given in the question. Write the names, it is very important, given in the question, whatever details or names are given. Okay, and again leave a line. So here it is a blank line. Here also we have a blank line. Okay, and then your last part will be conclusion. Again, there can be 1 or 2 points in your conclusion or 1 or 2 lines. This is a very good presentable answer. Your whatever answers you are writing for case study, divided in 3 parts: introduction, the actual case study, and lastly conclusion comparison. So tip number 1 is what? Always bifurcate or divide your answer in 3 parts. It should look like there are 3 parts. Alright, fine. Then I come to tip number 2. Highlight. Okay, highlight, or if required you can underline with pencil or pen, or even if that is not allowed by your institute, you can always write down in capital letters. This nobody is stopping you from writing your answer or some part in capital letters. Why that is important is you always trying to highlight your answers. Okay, so whatever, see, pay attention now. Just like you are going to write here so many points in provisions and case study and conclusion, isn't it? So like I said, this is the first important part. Which one? The introduction part, isn't it? Now obviously in every sentences there is going to be 1 or 2 words which are very, very important. We call it as the crux word. That means the main content. Okay, crux words of the provisions. Underline that or at least highlight it or write it in capital letters. Every sentence may have something or the other. But what you have to do is, your main intention is to make paper checkers work very much easy. After all, a paper are checked by a human person, isn't it? It is not checked by a machine. So try to make his work little bit easier. Whatever is given in the provisions part, underline that, and obviously in conclusion, again whatever is the final answer, yes or no or allowed or not allowed, again try to highlight or underline that. Again it gives an impact on the paper checker that you know what you have written and you are confident of what you have written. So you are trying to make his work easier. Instead of reading each and every word, it is going to take lots of time. You just highlight whatever is most important in your answer. So tip number 2 is what? Highlight your important words in the entire answer. Tip number 3, one of the most important tip. It is little logical, but still I have to separately tell you that write spaciously. Okay, that means it should be a presentable answer and it should be a legible answer. What do you mean by legible? Means readable. It means readable. In many of the suggestions given by paper checkers or paper examiners, they always say that your answers at times are not visible, and I have seen this especially with students who are very, very bright, who are very intelligent, but the presentation is very, very bad. So please always keep in mind, the marketing or presentation should be very much good, more actually, in fact something better than the actual content in your answer. So you can draw 2 lines on both the sides of the paper, not because you want to make your answer lengthy, but it should be a little bit presentable. And pay attention, you have paid fees of your whatever is your institute for fees you have paid for examination fees. Utilize that entire fees. You don't have any restriction on using number of papers or number of pages or number of supplements. So write as lengthy or not lengthy, but as spaciously as presentable as possible. Obviously, in this I'll include that there should be no overwriting. Okay, obviously no overwriting, no scratching, etc. If you think your answer is wrong, just blank, leave it, just draw only one line across and restart that answer on the next page. Okay. Tip number 4, write every answer. What did I say? Every answer, even if it is a sub question. Okay, even if it is a sub question on a separate new page. Okay, see, one entire big question, one question as such, main question, that as it is you have to start on a new page, that is a rule. But I am talking of even the sub questions, because you half answer is on this page and half answer is on next page. It is again little bit confusing, little irritating for the paper checker. See, always keep in mind, whenever paper checker is reading your answer, entire answer should look on or should be visible on one page or maximum 2 pages or 2 sides. But try to start even the sub question even on a fresh new page. Okay. Next tip. So tip number 5 is important. Many of you have that will or that some kind of motivation to become an author. Please don't become an author. Okay, while you are writing the papers. It means what? Don't try to create your own law, don't try to create your own sections, don't be bluff. Okay, don't bluff in the paper at all. These are your professional examination papers, so please don't become an author, don't create your own law, don't become Munish Bhandari or someone else or a very good person in law and create your own law. Please know what you know, write it. What you don't know, don't try to again bluff or guess or try to just imagine answers. A complete no. Okay. Next one, tip number 6, again a very important one. Write answers, qualitative answers, and not, you know already, quantitative. Okay. So what is my tip number 6? Write qualitative answers and not qualitative. That means what? Your answer, you don't be very much concerned or conscious about the size of your answer. Size doesn't matter. This is not your BCom or any university papers. Okay, don't feel guilty, don't feel bad if your answer looks short for a 4 mark, 6 mark or 8 mark question. Don't feel bad if your answer looks short or your entire page is not over complete or you have not written the answer up to next page. Don't feel bad. Your paper examiner is only concerned with what you know, what is to the point. Be very much precise. Don't try to extend the answers. Don't try to write answers first in active mode, then in passive mode. Not required. Don't try to increase the size. In fact, just try to increase the quality in your answer. Okay. So don't focus on the quantity, focus on the quality. This is very, very important. Don't feel bad if your answer looks short. Okay. So size of an answer doesn't equate with marks. Okay. Not at all. Or the size should be in proportion with marks. Not at all. Whatever question is asked, don't be very much concerned about it, that what should be the size of the answer. Okay. Then next one, tip number 7, and I think this is one of the most important tip. Okay, one of the most important tip. Attempt full. Now if your paper is out of 100 marks, attempt full. Okay, I don't care or nobody cares if you have attempted only 60 marks, only 70 marks or only 80 marks qualitative. At times students tell me, sir, I wrote off 70 marks qualitative, and I ask about remaining 30 marks. No, I did not attempt only. And then he is expecting out of 70 marks qualitative answer he is going to get 50 or 55 marks. It is a stupid expectation. It is a highly stupid expectation. Always try to keep that in mind, a little bit underestimate yourself, that whenever you attempt a 100 mark paper and you have attempted all 100 marks, you are going to get 50 marks. Keep in mind a 50% standard deduction in your mind. So when you write even qualitative answer of 70 marks, please don't assume that you will get 50 or 55 marks. See, whenever you write just 70 marks paper, you are by yourself, by default, not a chance is given to evaluate on the remaining 30 marks. Completely you yourself have donated, a charity is done of that 30 marks. Why are you doing that? Even if you have the focus of writing 70 marks qualitative, I'll advise you, I'll suggest you, I'll convince you, I'll try to tell you that please write remaining 30 marks anyhow. Now it might be qualitative or it might not might be of that level which what you expect. But please write entire 100 marks. This is my humble or most dedicated, you can say, request to you all. You have to attempt a paper. This applies not just to law, or it applies to any of the paper. You have to by default attempt 100 marks. Now even if you might not know the answer or you are still confused what is the answer, but first always you start with the best answer which you know. So you have remaining half an hour or 1 hour, whatever you have, please complete the paper anyhow. Even if let us say you don't know the answer, at least write the data given to you in the question, write it as it is. Then maybe something related to that you might think later on. So see, this concept is this jugaad as such. Jugaad is relevant in the last part. But see to it that even you will have a mental satisfaction that you attempted 100 marks. Now you yourself know that out of 100 marks, let us say 70 or 80 marks is qualitative and you are not so confident of last 20 or 30 marks. But that is still fine. My request of you to attempt 100 marks is, see, even if your 70 is qualitative and 30 is not so good, but still my friends, my students, my kids understand that out of 30 marks, there is a chance of getting at least, or let us say 7 to 10 marks, isn't it? So let us say over here, you are attempting 70 marks and again, like I said, standard deduction of 50%. Again, you might reach somewhere around 35 or 40 marks, and out of the remaining, still you are getting 10 marks. You will reach somehow up to 50 marks or maybe even more than that. You can obviously try for exemption. When is exemption possible or above 60 marks is possible? Only when you attempt 100 marks. So please, this is my request to you. You have to complete your paper. Even you will have a mental satisfaction. Okay? Then. So please don't be under that impression that writing only some part of the answers qualitatively is going to fetch you any good marks. Okay? And one important thing, writing, tip number 8. If time permits, obviously draw lines after every answer, but this is a summary of all the tips. Okay, this is a summary of all the tips. Make paper checkers life easy. This is the ultimate tip, or this is the summary of all the tips. You have to put yourself in the shoes of a paper checker. So obviously my tip will be what? Start that first question or start your paper with that question which you are most confident in. Okay, so start with question you are most confident in or most confident with. Now why? Because you might have heard that first impression is the best impression, okay, or first impression is the, you can also say, the last impression. If you are going to write an answer and then you are going to go to scratch it, or you are going to write a wrong answer, that itself in the starting itself it gives a kind of wrong or a bad impression in the paper checker's mind. So always try to start an answer in which you are most confident, you are sure that this is my best answer. Okay, doesn't matter which answer you are starting with. Okay, again, one more advice I can give you over here is, as far as possible in all the institute's professional papers, question number 1, even if it is compulsory, it is the such toughest one. So always, whenever a question paper is given to you, try to just flip it. That means read the question paper that's itself from the last questions. Okay, usually you can again follow this, you can say again recommendation in all the papers, don't start to read the question paper from question number 1. Read the question paper from last question and then come in reverse way in reading the question. Then you will understand which question to attempt first. Okay, a very good advice I am giving you here. Don't read question paper from question number 1. You can start in the reverse order. See, all these small things, you are investing 6 months or couple of years also in studying, and this attempt is only after 6 months, isn't it? That those 3 hours given to you is the best possible, or you can say the opportunity, in that also in every 6 months. You have to give it all, whatever you can give, dedication in those 3 hours. Whatever you studied till now, that is of no use if you cannot put it on paper in those 3 hours. Pay attention with the small tips, or fighting for that each and every mark. That is most important. That's why I tell you, attempt 100 marks. You never know what that 1 mark value will be, because 39 may become 40 or 59 may become 60 only if you are fully dedicated and you write 100 marks paper. Pay attention, you save 6 months. It is a question of 6 months or next attempt. So you have to see that you are giving your best, the most, whatever you can give, whole and soul dedication in those 3 hours. Okay, your answers should be presentable. And lastly, I'll say, obviously this is the same summary of all the tips. After all, a paper checker is a human being. Like I said, it is not being checked by machines. There will be some human errors, or there will be some tendency on errors. So please try to assume that as well when you are writing or your answer, or whenever you are expecting some answers. I understand there is some hatred or some negativity towards whichever institute you are a student of about paper checking, but still, after all, the paper checker is a human being, so there might be some chances of error. That's why I tell you, make his life easy. Okay, your answers should be presentable, and it should be see, always whenever you are even giving an interview after your job or whatever qualification you have done for a job interview, what are you doing in interview? You are selling yourself. You are selling yourself. That means you are basically marketing. Okay, you are marketing, isn't it? Similarly, your paper. Now, all the practical knowledge you might have, of the world, or you might have all the knowledge of how to do things, or some tax planning, or some case studies. All that is of no use if you cannot present it in paper. Okay, what matters ultimately of whatever studies is done is the paper which you have written in those 3 hours. So that paper is an opportunity for you to do marketing. So I'll obviously tell you that whatever energy you are focusing on content means the provisions or law you are studying it, you should give an equal importance for presentation. Okay, so please give equal importance for presentation the way you give importance to the content or the studies which you are doing. And again, so with these tips, I hope small things will be clear to you. Avoid your stupid spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes. That will help you, or you can work on that with a little bit of practice. Look at suggested answers of ICAI. You will get an idea what the institute is expecting. But like I said, this presentation tips will help you only if your studies are over. Okay, just don't focus only on presentation. First focus on the content and then focus on your presentation skills. See to it that a paper is managed in 3 hours. That's why you need a lot of writing practice also. Okay, all the very best. I wish you clear in your attempt, but like I said, you have to be focused on content as well as presentation. Presentation is equally important. All the best. I am very confident you are going to pass in this examination. So all the very best to you. Good luck.